Hello there. Welcome to the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show for February 19th, 2021. Today's episode was Failure to Launch, where the rocket didn't make it. Very sad. The rocket thought they were doing it through StreamYard because everyone knows how great Wednesday's show was. Jared said, you know what? I need to experience this. I need to have, the people hear my voice through StreamYard and through that audio quality. So they called Jared about 10 minutes in. It was a mix-up of communication. We are going to get into that in just a little bit, but today I am joined by the number one cunt, Red from Maine.
Thank you.
And Blind Owl, my Friday regular. How you boys doing today?
It's a beautiful Friday.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here. Yes. It's snowing right now. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So today's show was posted a little late. They had not scheduling conflicts, but they started recording around noon today. Show got out around like 1:30, 2 o'clock ish, and there was no Jared. It's a Friday show, no Jared, and I was surprised when I first heard when the podcast started and Kirk said Jared's not here yet, because I was like, isn't Jared like known for being like extremely early to these things? Didn't he show up like he'll wait in his car for like 10 hours beforehand? So my first thing was I was concerned. I was like, fuck, hopefully like something didn't happen to Jared, or Big Poppy got shot again and he had to make himself into an inpatient hospital or something like that. but yeah, so no Jared today. They kind of got into it a little bit. So Steve and him kind of texted back and forth trying to figure out a time. Steve offered to help him out with any interview he was doing for starting 9. Jared thought that meant, okay, we're doing the entire thing on StreamYard. And it's kind of divisive right now on Twitter of people who think it's Jared's fault, who think it's Steve's fault. I have a feeling I know where Red's going to go with this.
I was going to say.
Come on.
So I'm gonna go to Blind Owl first and see. Okay. So who takes the blame for this?
Well, I don't think anyone is to blame for this. It's just a simple, we've all done this where either you're texting with someone and either you forget to say something or you're thinking it so much that you're like, oh, I already asked. Oh, are they going to be in? We're going to be in studio, and then he just said remote, and then Steve's like, yeah, we can work with you remote, whatever you need, and so he assumed he wasn't coming in, and Steve assumed he was, and it's just a communication breakdown. That's all it was.
I see. Red. Now let's get your
Lord
unbiased
knows.
opinion.
Lord knows, I don't want to criticize Steve. I always try and I hesitate to do it. I will come in here and I'll say, knowing that you two might possibly have Steve's back in this, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I have words. The English language, I paint with it, much like Steve does. I take words very seriously. I'll read you a couple of notes here. The definition for executive, for instance, having the power to put plans, actions, or laws into effect. Now, if you are the executive producer, you get that title, you get that money that comes with it, but you also have that responsibility. That responsibility falls on Stephen Robinson. So,
well,
for
Steve,
me,
Red, let me cut you off right there.
Oh, please, yeah. The
he
floor
is
yours.
By definition, you are correct, but also he is the only producer, so he's executive and any form of
these things are
both
both true, but I mean he has dealt with a lot on his plate. So
sure.
So
he's all that I ask is for consistency. Always. Okay. I'm just saying that he's the executive producer. If you want the title and the money, also comes with responsibility. It falls on Steven in this situation. I think it was misleading in his text, and I'm not going to blame Carabas for this. I can't do it. So this is on Stephen R. Robinson, 100%.
So believe it or not, I'm actually going to side not 100%, but mostly with Red here.
Whoa!
Because so I do believe that it falls on the executive producer to make sure the guests are all lined up and stuff like that. But I do see where there was just a miscommunication. Miscommunications happened. This wasn't the end all be all. Jared isn't in studio. That if there was no hot take Jared needed to get out today. This wasn't like the day after trivia or something like that where it was dire need of Jared. I think it kind of went along fine without him, but I do believe it falls on Steve to kind of set up to make sure, okay, this time, this place. I do think Jared could have reached out and been like, hey, so I'm not entirely sure if we're doing this. So I do think blame lies on both of the people.
Well, but in Jared's case, though, Justin, he's just assuming that they're going to be sending him the StreamYard link. When they called, he was asking for the link. He was just wondering what was going on. I mean, in his mind, for all intents and purposes, he's just getting the StreamYard link. the show has used that before. He's assuming Kirk's going to be on the road. They just did it on Wednesday. I mean, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah, no, like I said, it was just a like I'm not saying like this is a huge fuck up.
Oh,
this is a huge fuck up by Steve, or like this is the Fenway incident or anything like that. It's just a product of, he's working a lot on the secret project. I'm sure he got some audio or video or something from Kirk's adventure this week where he had to cut up. So I don't want to sit here and just make excuses for him. I think it does suck that we didn't get the Rocket in studio today. I love the Rocket shows. I was depressed when I found out it was only going to be a 10-minute phone call, and I also was depressed for another reason too. So at one point, Kirk said, and to be completely fair with this, I would probably give the exact same treatment to Blind Mike as I would to Jared Carabas right now. He's kind of lackadaisical. He didn't like go after Jared like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I think that is actually true. I think that the days of the Blind Mike getting completely shit on by Kirk are the days past. I think Kirk is very comfortable with shitting on employees of his and underlings of his. And now that Mike's not getting paid, I don't know if Kirk would be... I don't see how Blind Mike could fuck up in a position where Kirk would kind of scream at him like getting drunk at Madawaska, or, not doing enough for the show. Like, where is Mike able to fuck up to that degree that he has in the past where, Kirk has really ripped into him and really tore him a new asshole? I don't see that happening.
So that really just leaves you, Justin, is what we're saying. You're the only one who's going to get ripped from now on.
No,
right?
I mean, no, Steve Robinson is 100% going to get ripped.
Kirk's been very nice to Steve. You're right.
Yeah.
But Kirk's been very nice to Steve, too.
But Justin, it's just like you said it. He's not an employee. He doesn't have as much responsibility. He's just a guest now. You can rip apart a guest, and if he does something stupid on his Patreon, like, I don't know, whatever he does.
Have you seen More on Money?
Well, that's just stupid, not insulting to Kirk or anything like that. But if he does anything to hurt the show, Kirk can just say, okay, goodbye, done with this, whatever happens, and he can just toss him aside. Now he's not have to worry about paying him. He doesn't have to worry about bringing him to any live shows. He's not a full part of the show anymore.
I think it would kind of be hilarious if Mike goes up to Madawaska and he's like, I'm not an employee now. And then he just gets completely shit-faced. And it's like,
that'll be the true test, right? Is when he goes to Madawaska, if Kirk sees fit to rip him apart, it would probably be there, right? So that would be the test.
Yes. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I still think Kirk will go 100% in on a guest who writes something stupid. Like he 100% would have ripped apart Kelly Keegs for her dumb piece on The Bachelor that she wrote last week. But I feel like, Mike's, it sounds weird. Like they're kind of mutually doing themselves. Like Kirk is using his platform to promote Blind Mike's Patreon. Blind Mike is a recurring guest on the Kirk Minahan Show. They're mutually kind of helping each other out. You might say one's helping the other one out a little bit more in regards to, Kirk is obviously given Blind Mike this huge platform to try to spawn his Patreon off of. But I'm just curious to see like if Kirk will ever rip apart Jared or rip apart Mike like he did in the past, because we haven't really seen it with Jared and we haven't seen it with Mike since he came back.
Well, I think Mike's personality, it's easier still, even though it feels like Mike's done well with therapy, and it seems like he's much easier to go along with a joke, and he doesn't take things as personally now. I think Jared, he's everything. He's like a Jedi where you can't really hit him like with anything. Like Kirk will say a lot of things about Jared, and he's easy peasy, man. He just goes with it. So I think Mike's an easier target. Jared makes it much more difficult to criticize. So
obviously, and Jared, like Red said, Jared just kind of sits there and just takes it. If something really bothers him, he doesn't show you, and if something is really funny, he honestly doesn't show you that either. He's pretty even keel, just kind of lets everything roll off. He's not fun to abuse because he doesn't. But also,
you have to admit that Jared has not gotten, quote unquote, like stripped down and taken to court or whatever. I don't even know what that's a fucking saying. Like Blind Mike has in the past.
Absolutely. Mike's been getting killed. But if you listen back, I've been listening back to some of the earlier shows just because I've been trying to study up for the trivia show and make sure I'm good to go. Jared would get killed. He'd get roasted by Kirk. In 2019, that summer, that first month, Kirk would roast him. But that's all seemed to pass now for whatever reason.
because he didn't get the reaction that most people would give when you get destroyed.
Maybe.
Jared just kind of ignores it. And
Red, you mentioned the summer of 2019. Great
Yes.
summer. Not as good
Great
as the
summer.
show was in the summer of 2017. Because that today, I
the Kirk and Callahan show was great.
I
in 2017.
legitimately thought Steve was having a stroke today when he said when they were talking about how long have we been doing this show? And like in my head, I'm just thinking it's like oh, it's almost been 2 years now, which is a long time. I mean, it sounds crazy. And Steve, with no Skibavik, goes, I think 2017. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Steve! He has not been since 2017.
That damn Dozens brain. It's coming to get him for
It
everything
is.
now. Now it's all just Dozens brain.
He can't tell the difference between Kirk and Howie Carr. Like I don't know.
It's I don't know. 2 to 4 years is a big difference to me. So when I heard that, I was like, damn, maybe Steve's having a stroke or something.
The nice thing is, Justin, I think you've realized this. You can lean in on Steve right now on this show because he never listens to the show. He never watches. So he has no idea what we're doing here right now. So please, the floor is yours. Keep going in on Steve.
Justin, get right at
it. I've never held anything back about Steve on this show.
Please, keep going.
I know he doesn't listen. I do think it was funny that they quickly mentioned Tim and Canton's segment from Wednesday's show, because I really was like, Jesus Christ, where the fuck is this coming from?
I know,
that
was an odd, unbridled hatred. I respect
that was very strange, but yeah, like Steve, like I knew when Kirk asked him, "Did you happen to listen to the wrap up?" I knew the answer was going to be no. So let's kind of get into not kind of preview Monday's show, but I do find it interesting when they foreshadow the show, when they say, okay, we're going to get into this on Monday, because it just gives you the entire weekend. Kirk's thinking in his head right now of what is it going to be, like a Dr. Lance Minahan type of thing? Is it going to be, will Chaps be involved? His gears are turning inside of his brain. So this Ben Albright guy, who honestly I totally forgot about. Like, I saw
something brought it up in my mind pretty recently, a week or so ago, and I just looked at him like, oh, I'm blocked. I wonder what I said to him.
Yeah, I'm blocked.
And that was it.
So what happened was some radio station in Denver set out, like, who's your favorite radio personality of all time? And someone replied with Kirk Minahan. I like him. He brings me a lot of content. Ben Albright replied like ew or weird.
Gross,
or something like
I
that.
believe.
Yeah, gross. That's what it was. And that just spawned into this whole thing. And now he's attacking other podcasts, this his and hers podcast of
great podcast,
all this
great
other
show.
all this other shit going on. And I can't wait for Kirk to just rip into this guy, because he is just a complete douchebag. You really did I forgot about the whole Russian thing until I thought of it this morning. Yeah. And that's when I go and I found the Turtle Boy article where he has a screenshot of the thing, and I just typed into Google Translate, send 3 Bitcoin to this address, or I have your DMs, VLS KMS, which is still the funniest thing that he Jussie Smolletted himself before Jussie Smollett.
Yeah.
He really tried to claim that he was hacked by Russians, and this Russian hacker just happened to be a huge Kirk Minahan show fan,
and delete all his tweets,
and demanded.
And that's the thing too, is like with him deleting the tweets, like without going back and listening to the old podcasts, where they just they break Ben Albright down. I think it was when they were on remote. When Kirk and Steve and Mike were on remote at Foxwoods, right? Yes. So they have that podcast. If we don't have that, and we don't have Turtle Boy, I don't know how we don't have all those good tweets and all that extra content to really be able to pin him down, because he deleted everything and blocked everybody. So he's almost able to get away with this stuff if not for those things. So, I mean, without having the podcast and without having Turtle Boy, we wouldn't be able to do this today, where we're able to just go through and constantly, I'm sharing that podcast with everybody in his mentions because he's blocked me, but at least I can share that with other people just to show what kind of a fraud this guy is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I wrote I was inspired to write a little bit of a blog of my own today because of this. Just to
Kirk Minahan retweeted it, in fact.
Yes, he did. What the greatest day of my life. So I went back and listened to most of that show. I believe it was called The Curious Case of Ben Albright, and some of the stuff is just wild. He claims his grandfather worked on the moon landing, and the other one tried to kill Hitler. I don't know what was going on. He's just all over. We all know people like this that just do nothing but lie. That's
Yeah,
you know.
it's quite funny. And then when you think about it, I think Kirk was like, the more time he gives it, the more upset he gets at Chaps. Because
Yeah.
at first he was like, what's he gonna do? And then it slowly turned into like, straight up, fuck this dude. He legitimately tried to get us fired. He wanted us gone without even knowing half the story. All Chaps heard was, it's a military guy they're quote unquote going after, and he's like, oh, they need to leave. They need to leave now. I remember him saying like, listen, I'm the 13th guy at Barstool, the 14th guy at Barstool. Like, don't ever like disrespect me because I've been here longer. I hate it when people bring up seniority like that. When especially when like it's one thing, like obviously like I'm never gonna come at like Kirk or someone like that and be like, oh listen, we should be on the same level because we're all just employees. It's like, no. But Chaps and Kirk Minahan, doesn't matter who's been at Barstool longer, doesn't matter who's had more success, just let you both should be able to do what you do without trying to get the other one fired, which is what he did. So I think he should come on Monday's show, you know, just to kind of, because I do remember he come on the show?
No, I remember that Chaps offered it up to Kirk that he could come on Chaps' show, but Chaps was never going to come on KMS. So that was something they were trying to get Chaps to get him on there. So that's what led to a lot of the Minifans calling into his show and bothering.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Oh yeah.
Which, if he had just come on KMS, I think it would have been much better for him. Maybe if that's the case, maybe he'll actually come on Monday and take it. But we'll see.
Do you like what with Kate did? You know,
yeah,
right.
The Minifans were all up in arms about Kate, you know, supporting the Chinese Communist Party and everything like that. And she made a video for Socko, and it's like, one of us,
right?
You know?
And I thought when I saw Kirk tweet that out today, where he said he was going to wait to have Mike in studio, I was like, damn, like, let's just do this now, right? This is going to be great. You're just going to bury him on this show. We'll play about all the old hits and jump on them. But now, looking at it, like R.A. Minahan tweeted that they're doing that show tonight.
Yes.
Like Ben Albright's doing a show tonight. So you're going to get, hopefully some Minifans are going to be calling in there.
Monitoring that.
You'll get sound to react to on Monday as well. So hopefully you can get that sound. You'll have Chaps in, maybe. You'll definitely have Mike in. Like, that's going to be a great show on Monday. Which is the really nice thing that I love about this show when it's really cooking and good is even over the weekend, you're still looking forward to a podcast on a Monday, right? How many podcasts are you looking forward to on a Monday besides maybe Pardon the Interruption or Pardon My Take or whatever else? You know what I mean? There's very few.
Listen, Kirk Minahan show, and I'm also a big fan of the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show. Those are pretty much the only two podcasts.
I only listen to that one on Fridays.
So, So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to say about Ben Albright. I'm sure we're going to get more into it on Monday, you know, bringing Mike in.
I had a few email exchange with him.
Yes, that's true.
That's true.
So you did ask for comment on the blog you wrote.
I did. I thanked him for reading, of course. I thanked him for reading. And
he replied back to you, and he said, let me pull this up here. Is it cool if I read this?
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
He said, 1, people generally seek comment on something before they publish. Reaching out after is weird. 2, I didn't click
Can I respond to that quickly?
Sure, go.
I'm weird for asking for comment after recapping 2 podcasts about him and then asking for comment. Yeah, that's odd.
Yes. 2, I didn't click the link, and I'm not going to. So if you think you got that link from Benjamin Albright, I mean, you're shit out of luck.
He definitely clicked the link.
Nor am I going to comment on an ongoing legal matter. So
that was interesting.
It turns out this is in some legal battle now. I'm not entirely sure who's suing who. Is this kind of like one of those things like
that's
where you're like, I'm going to sue you. Like, go take that down, or I'm going to sue you, even though half the time, most of the time, it's all just posturing. He probably got a call from some mayor in fucking Massachusetts and was like, what should I do here? And he's like, just fucking sue him or something. 3, my records are public. People have been lying about them for years, but they're literally right there on Twitter. So he says they're literally right there on Twitter, but he doesn't show them. I mean,
give me a link. Give me anything.
And then he doesn't give a 4 here. He just says, it does amaze me that people with absolutely no clue whatsoever who didn't take the time to read them tell on themselves writing about me, though. So I'm not entirely sure.
Did I tell on myself?
Tell on yourself?
I don't know. I thought I just wrote about him and asked for comment.
So then it says, while I appreciate you reaching out, so he does appreciate you.
Hey,
I don't have any public comment and won't be responding to inquiries in the future. The records are public. sent from my T-Mobile 5G device. So this dude already has a 5G device, which is the most impressive thing I took out of that email.
Wow.
That's like, fuck, dude, 5G came out like 5 months ago, and he already has a 5G device, which is very, very
rolling big on KOA in Denver.
Good for
They're
him.
just tossing out cash left and right.
Well, at least he didn't threaten to take food out of your mouth, Bo. At least he didn't do that. He's developing as a hater.
He's smartened up. I think I know why. I think that was his iHeart Radio account, so it's a work account. You can only do that privately. Threaten people's families.
Well, he said, he didn't threaten. He said, don't make me threaten to take food out of people's mouths.
Don't make me threaten. That's like a double threat.
Hey, Red, don't make me threaten to come over there and kick your fucking ass. I never said I'm going to kick your, but
don't make me do it.
So
I will do it. Don't think
Ben Albright's a douchebag. I can't wait for the dressing down. He's going to cry about it on fucking Twitter. He's been crying about it all the time. Like Red said, KOA, the radio show he does will be live from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern time. I know I saw R.A. Minahan posted about it on Twitter. I posted about it on Twitter. So I'm going to be tweeting it out from the show account. So if you guys have any hot Denver Broncos takes,
as a Bronco fan, I can really
exactly. I know Ted's a Bronco fan. They are now the betting favorites to land Deshaun Watson. So if you have any takes on that, or want to talk to him, just feel free to give a call or shoot him a text through the text line.
Yeah,
so, and then the rest of the show today was they were talking about political things like Cuomo and Ted Cruz and all this other stuff. I don't really have. I think Kirk kind of covers it all. The hypocrisy. It's embarrassing when you see people praising Howard Stern while shitting on Rush Limbaugh, and just completely acting like Ted Cruz just broke the only vial of coronavirus vaccine in the entire world, while Cuomo is like literally responsible for tens of thousands of deaths. It's all just like, it's just like Kirk said, just be consistent. He said, like, Rush, said some shitty things. I never even heard about the two things he said and that the clips they played today. I never even heard about the slut comment or the Michael J. Fox comment. I have the exact, I know, Justin kisses Kirk's ass, but it's also I had the exact same thought when I heard he went at Michael J. Fox. I go, dude, that's fucking Marty McFly. What are you doing going after fucking, it's like going after Elmo, It's like,
Right, and there's many of us in the middle like that. I remember when that happened and seeing that video, and regardless of where you fell in your voting lines, there was a lot of people that were upset about it just because Michael J. Fox is beloved, especially with Back to the Future. And it was what I loved about today's show with that, it was meat and potatoes, right? You don't have Jared in there, you don't have Mike, so you don't have a lot of the silly, goofy stuff. So what you get is that Rush Limbaugh talk. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to anything else, any other podcast yesterday, what you got from Rush Limbaugh was going to be slanted either way. You knew exactly what you were going to get. So when you get Jerry Callahan talking about it, you know exactly that Jerry's going to go over.
Left. Yeah, he's going to go happy. He was dancing.
He's going to go over the bad stuff. He's going to miss it. He's not going to play the clips, right? Kirk's going to make sure you play the clips. If you leave it up to Steve Robinson, he's more than likely not going to go over that stuff because it just doesn't fall within his voting lines. What I like about Kirk is that he's going to cover everything, warts and all. He's going to give you the best talk on Rush Limbaugh that people, maybe young, just have no idea. They're not aware of what Rush was like back then, the controversy, the bad stuff, but also the good stuff too. So,
as a younger person, I wasn't really a big Rush person. My grandfather still probably doesn't listen to him anymore, but would listen to him if he was still on the air. And he's just, I remember going out to his house and hearing him, and I'm like, who's this guy? And he's like, oh, it's Rush. Oh, he's good. He's good to do that. He doesn't sound like that, but and these people say he said some pretty terrible things, and people forget the Monday Night Football thing where he said Donovan McNabb is celebrated because he's black and he's not really that good. But I mean, that was pretty innocuous in my opinion, but can't go ahead.
I had no idea. I just heard, I only saw what was said on Twitter these past couple of days. One of the big things that was going around Twitter was that he would laugh at the names of gay people who have died in the 80s. And I had no idea if that was true or not, even though so many people are tweeting about it. Because I had no idea if maybe he was Freddie Mercury's dead. Sucks for him. Haha. And then suddenly people thought that was like a segment on the show and they're going to run with that. But if that was a recurring segment, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a shitty thing to do.
Another thing I hate is when people are, frauds and say, oh, this famous person died. Well, I didn't agree with him, but he was good, but he was a good person, blah, blah. I hate that. If you hate somebody, dance on their grave when they die. I personally don't care. But, and then, I don't get the people on the right getting upset about people on the left being so happy when he died. It's like, obviously they're happy. He was annoying to them.
Right. I think probably guys like Rush Limbaugh are actually happy that people are happy that he's dead, right? That probably means he did something right in his mind. So
exactly.
I think there's probably going to be a lot of people that will do the same thing whenever Kirk's obituary is written.
Leave.
By what was that, Justin? What was
Nothing.
That going?
Who was that?
Someone.
Someone.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, all right.
Anyway, I mean, maybe it was somebody who wanted to give a Rush Limbaugh take. I don't know, but it's good, I think, and I would love it too. Like, if somebody wants to dance on your grave, it means you did a good thing too. So there's some good stuff in there for Rush as well. And again, they covered it today, which you're not going to get anywhere in any podcast or 24-hour news cycle. Like, it's just not going to happen anywhere else. So.
No.
I 100% agree. Like, I'm not huge on the political segments. It's kind of where I get my news from is, through KMS Twitter and through listening to the podcast. When it comes to like political stuff, I'm not a huge politics guy, believe it or not, or I try not to be. It just makes my brain all silly. So I have no idea what to think. But the last segment of today's show, I don't say this often. The calls sucked today. It sounds like they were all new calls. I don't know if that's because they thought it was going to be Jared Carrabis, or it was just people trying out new bits that just didn't work at all. But yeah, I think the call sucked today. What did you guys think?
I think it was the timing. A lot of people weren't ready. Weren't ready for the 12 o'clock. Different group. As you see with the night shows and the day shows, just a different group. Just people can't sit on hold. When you show tapes at 11, and I mean that extra hour makes a difference. People, will be on their lunch or whatever when the calls come in, and now it's just not that way. I mean, it's just a timing thing, I think.
Yeah, it makes it tough, right? So if you don't have Jared or Mike in there, then you've only got Kirk to really react off the callers because Steve's only going to be able to do so much. And if the callers call in for Steve, it's usually about some bullshit that Steve doesn't want to hear. So he ain't going to give you.
There was a caller today who said, "Why aren't you posting more about food?"
Right.
Great call.
Getting into the heavy questions.
So there's not a lot of good stuff that's coming from those callers, and like you said, Bo, like it's just a different time of day. Even though, give Kirk credit, he announced earlier in the morning that they're going to be taping the show later, and they did give him the heads up on when they're taking the calls. But usually when Jared's in, it's a Thursday night taping, so probably people were ready for that. I'm just waiting for guys like frickin' Jon Stewart or somebody to step up and call into the show. If you're trying to get into the Hall of Fame next year, you better call in. Mayo, you're not happy not being on the Hall of Fame ballot? You better start calling in. Otherwise, I mean, what are you guys doing? You're just sitting around doing nothing.
Where's President Trump? Where's Blind Mike's dad? Where's all these good people?
Right. Where are you? You want to be on the Hall of Fame ballot? You better call in.
That's kind of it on the on wrapping up. I don't know if you boys have any other takes or anything you want to talk about.
Read Blind Owl blogs. That's all I'll say.
Red, anything you'd like to say?
Again, I'll say I'll quote Ziggy, who I hate accurately. His 5 roles of a podcast producer.
Oh,
Number 3 is the biggest one. Coordinate podcast interviews. Stephen Earl Robinson. You want to be the executive producer. I know you're not watching this. You're not going to watch this.
He is the executive producer.
You want to be the executive producer. You want to be the man. Then you got to be the man that coordinates and get these guys in there so there's no confusion about what's going on. So be better, Steve Robinson.
To be fair, I mean, Steve could have, brought in President Trump as a guest and you'd still kind of figure out a way.
That's not, I'm objective as the day is long. So this is just me. I'm just in the middle. I'm a man in the middle. That's all I am.
The last thing I'd like to say before I get going is we're still doing the Jared Carrabis baseball card giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe wherever you listen to this show. Tell your friends about it. They subscribe, leave a 5-star review, screenshot it, send me it either through Twitter or through Facebook. Not Facebook. Don't fuck with my Facebook.
Yeah,
or email at Trudell@barstoolsports.com. And to be entered, and there's actually 10 of these baseball cards that I will be giving away. So chances are higher than normal. So that's
I have
going on for
entered
like
myself. I'm
not a
looking to
number.
win.
That is correct. So so the more the merrier. Thank you boys for joining me tonight.
Thank you guys. This
Yes,
is awesome.
thank you.
Hopefully, whoever's trying to get into your room, Justin, they can get in now.
Let's hope
But-
so.
All
Let's
right.
hope so.
Well, it was
I,
good to be
I
on.
didn't recognize the face.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I will talk to everyone on